In my previous life, my husband gave me a gift on our wedding anniversary. It was a shabby bracelet, wrapped in a piece of paper with elegant handwriting that read, "The one who isn't loved is the other woman." From that moment on, my marriage with my husband began to crumble, and with the help of my best friend, I continuously uncovered evidence of his infidelity and forced him to leave with nothing. But I never expected that just 2 days after divorcing my husband, I would be in a car accident. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to our wedding anniversary day, and to my astonishment, I discovered I could actually hear my best friend's inner thoughts. Only then did I realize I'd been kept in the dark all along. Heh, Mina would never guess that I swapped out her wedding anniversary gift, would she? The intermittent voice of my best friend Cece drifted into my mind. My vision seemed blurred as I rubbed my eyes vigorously, revealing a scene both familiar and strange before me. Had I been reborn? And on the very day of my 3rd wedding anniversary with my husband Jason, no less. In my previous life, it was on this exact day that my husband's mistress came to provoke me, presenting a tattered necklace wrapped in gift paper as Jason's anniversary gift, flaunting it in my face. It was at this moment that I discovered the man everyone praised as virtuous and talented, my beloved husband, had actually been cheating on me. Thankfully, my best friend Cece stood by me, helping gather evidence until Jason finally confessed and left with nothing. But just 3 days after our assets were divided, I tragically died in a car accident. As I pondered, I suddenly recalled the voice I'd heard earlier, Cece's voice. I turned to look at her. What was she saying about a gift being swapped? My sudden stare made Cece uneasy, but she forced herself to stay calm and said, "Mina, what's wrong?" Yet simultaneously, another voice rang clearly in my mind. Did she notice something suspicious? Nah, she's too dumb to figure it out. Cece's lips didn't move, yet the voice had undeniably echoed inside my head. Could I actually hear her thoughts? She swapped my gift? What gift? At this moment, Cece pouted her lips, extremely displeased. Honestly, Jason doesn't even know to come back and spend time with you on your anniversary. Who knows what he's busy with? I felt quite puzzled inside, but pretended not to know anything and just nodded, yeah. He's probably out enjoying himself with his mistress right now, isn't he? Cece cautiously observed my expression, and finding nothing unusual, secretly sighed in relief while thinking to herself. Tisk, lucky for me Mina trusts me. Jason's probably still drinking and apologizing right now? After all, he even lost the USB drive with the files. He'd never guess it was me who took it. Every single word of this was heard by me. A USB drive? In my past life, among all the evidence I found of Jason's infidelity, he had once tried to explain this to me. He said that missing our anniversary wasn't about being with another woman, it was because he'd lost the USB drive containing important files and had to go drinking to apologize. I pondered in my heart, could there be something fishy going on here? Was my husband truly innocent? Lost in thought, a knock came at the door. I knew, it was my anniversary gift arriving, my husband's mistress making her presence known. I opened the door to find the courier standing there. Cece was behind me, her eyes brimming with excitement. It's coming, it's coming. My big gift. I kept a straight face and signed for the gift. Wow. I knew Jason wouldn't forget. He must just be too busy with work. Cece deliberately emphasized the words, too busy with work. I smiled, holding the large box in my hands, and closed the door. Hurry up and open it? Cece was even more impatient than I was. Open it already, let me witness the collapse of your marriage. Cece's inner voice kept screaming in my mind. I suppressed my shock. Was everything in my past life a lie? No wonder, without my best friend's guidance, I couldn't find any trace of my husband's infidelity. I nodded and opened the box. Inside was a slightly tarnished silver bracelet placed in the packaging. Next to it was a note, "The one who isn't loved is the other woman." The elegant handwriting exuded arrogance. This? Cece gaped, her eyes wide with exaggerated shock as she looked at me. That's odd, why isn't she surprised? The inner voice echoed, and my expression darkened instantly. I couldn't let it show just yet. Only then did Cece relax, thinking to herself, so she's just too dumb to react quickly. Then she suddenly shouted, "Jason! Cheating!" And the other woman even came to our door. So is he with her right now? I picked up the note and examined it carefully. The handwriting was unfamiliar, but certain details stood out. These details bore a striking resemblance to Cece's writing habits. Before I could speak, Cece immediately shouted, "Mina! We can't just let him off like this." I let out a long sigh and smiled, saying, "Then shall we call and ask him?" At those words, Cece's expression instantly changed, and she hurriedly said, "We can't alert the enemy." I looked at her and dialed the number, a video call, no less. Within 3 seconds, the call connected. Jason stood by the window with bustling traffic behind him, his face slightly flushed as he asked, "Honey, what's wrong?" "Nothing." Cece immediately squeezed over, trying to snatch the phone from my hand. I sidestepped and pushed her away, then aimed the camera at the gift on the table. "Is this the anniversary present you prepared for me?" I asked. Jason looked completely stunned. "How could that be? I definitely prepared a ruby necklace and even asked Cece to deliver it to you." "Wasn't she just there?" he said. I nodded, then asked, "What are you up to?" Jason chuckled and flipped his phone camera to show a business dinner scene. He said helplessly, "Lost some important documents, drinking with clients now." "Don't drink too much." I hung up the call. In the frame, there was a woman smiling warmly at the camera. Then I turned to look at Cece. Cece looked awkward, internally criticizing, "Is this normal? Wouldn't a normal person first confront her husband about cheating if she discovered an affair?" Then she forced a dry laugh, "Must be a delivery mistake?" I looked at her struggling expression and chuckled. Cece immediately took out her phone, "I'll go ask about this." With that, she walked out without looking back. Shortly after, a ruby necklace was delivered into my hands. "This necklace? I think I've seen a similar one before." I frowned, unable to recall clearly. Jason came back in the middle of the night. "You're back?" I put on the gemstone necklace he gave me and handed him a bowl of sobering soup. "I'm fine." He gulped down the soup in a few quick swallows, then asked, "What happened with Cece?" I smiled at him, not wanting him to worry about such things, so I said, "It was just a delivery mix-up." Jason nodded lightly, as if it were just some trivial matter, then ruffled my hair. "Get some rest, it's late," he said. He planted a deep kiss on my cheek. As I gazed into his affectionate eyes, I nodded. Jason had been very busy lately. His company had caught the attention of a listed corporation and was in a crucial phase of negotiations. He answered a call and left in such a hurry that he didn't even have time for breakfast. Meanwhile, I stayed home to clean. Jason and I met in college, while Cece, my high school best friend, attended university in the same city as me. At the time, Cece said she had arranged a blind date and wanted me to come along to help vet him. The so-called blind date was just Cece's wishful thinking. Jason couldn't bring himself to refuse, so he had no choice but to agree. But as luck would have it, Jason wasn't interested in Cece, instead, he took a liking to me. And so, we ended up together. After graduating, Jason decided to start his own business, and I chose to join him in this entrepreneurial journey. During the toughest times, we could only afford half a pack of instant noodles per person each day, and had to sleep at airports or high-speed rail stations at night. Now that his career has taken off, I've stepped back to become a full-time housewife. But I still can't understand why Cece would do this to me. Is Cece jealous of me? That can't be, her husband is also quite capable, earning $500,000 to $600,000 a year. Though not as much as Jason, it's not far off. What's more, I was absolutely certain she wasn't the jealous type. This left me utterly baffled. I decided to take the initiative. When I went to see Cece, she was quite surprised. I hardly ever visited her at home, especially in recent years. "What brings you here?" Cece was visibly startled when she opened the door and saw it was me. I blinked my eyes and put on an innocent face. I came to see how you're doing, to check if Liam's been mistreating you or starving you. Liam, Cece's husband, they've been together for 5 years now. Cece fell for Liam at first sight, it was love at first sight, and after 3 long years of pursuit, they finally got together. Cece smiled, beckoning me inside as she said, "How could that be? He treats me so well." But I clearly caught a fleeting glimpse of sorrow in her eyes, quickly masked moments later. As we settled into the living room, Cece said, "I'm really sorry about the mistaken delivery last night." I smiled understandingly. Between us, who needs formalities? Don't be so distant with me. We exchanged glances, each harboring ulterior motives. That's when I heard Cece's inner voice, "Oh Mina, you trust me so much it's making me feel guilty about framing you. But for my marriage with Liam, I'll have to wrong you." I was utterly shocked. When did her marriage with Liam hit trouble? But my expression remained perfectly composed. After exchanging a few pleasantries, I suddenly asked, "Where's Liam? When should we invite him out for dinner?" Cece forced a laugh and said, "He's been really busy these days, probably not anytime soon." We chatted casually for a bit longer before I left. On the way back, a storm of emotions raged inside me. Why was it up to me to fix the cracks in her marriage with Liam? Why did I have to be the one to sacrifice? Frowning, I began sifting through memories of my past life, but after a while, I shook my head, nothing useful came to mind. I decided to take matters into my own hands and investigate Liam directly. Liam and I were actually very close. We were childhood playmates. When we were kids, he was quite mischievous and fell into the river twice, both times I happened to be nearby and pulled him out. But later he transferred schools, and we lost contact. Even if we met again, he probably wouldn't remember me. I was afraid Cece might overthink it, so I never mentioned any of this. I went straight to the processing plant to look for Liam. Surprisingly, many of the production lines at Liam's factory had already shut down, and Liam wasn't there. Apparently, he was away on a business trip. I realized Liam's factory was in trouble. Was it problems at Liam's factory that had affected their marriage? I frowned. Maybe Jason knew something? In the evening, Jason came home. I took his suit jacket and served him a bowl of warm rice. After dinner, I asked him, "Jason, is there something wrong with Liam's processing plant?" Jason gave me a surprised look. "You already know about it?" I nodded, just a little. Then Jason sighed, "I wasn't supposed to let you know, but since you've found out, I have no choice but to tell you." It turned out that Liam's processing factory had produced a new product that quickly took over business from a well-known brand's factory, which led to retaliation. Some internal employees were even bribed to jointly report that Liam's factory had hygiene issues, and they also claimed Liam harassed employees. Although there was no concrete evidence, the allegations spread rapidly online. Moreover, all suppliers and other connections were cut off, leaving them completely isolated. Now they have no choice but to halt production and wait for the investigation. Every day they delay means more money lost. After hearing Jason's words, I came to understand somewhat, so this is why she chose to take such drastic measures against me. "There's nothing I can do to help either," Jason said with a helpless shrug. In this matter, he couldn't offer much assistance and might even end up getting burned himself. I gently kissed his forehead. "Get some rest early." Jason had been on business trips these past few days, and even when he wasn't traveling, he was so busy working late that he ended up staying in hotels instead of coming home. I was looking at the calendar, counting the time. At 3 o'clock this afternoon, Cece would come to me and show me a video of Jason cheating. At exactly 3 in the afternoon, as expected, Cece knocked on my door. "Mina." The moment she opened the door, she looked at me with a grave expression. "Jason. He might be cheating." My heart was utterly calm, but on the surface, I widened my eyes and exaggeratedly dropped my jaw in shock. "Cece. You can't just say something like that." Cece smacked her lips and then said, "Do you remember Dodo?" I nodded. "She was our college classmate." She's working as a front desk clerk at the East Tower 5-star hotel. Today while on duty, she checked the surveillance footage and saw Jason entering the hotel with some woman. With that, she pulled out the tablet she always carried with her and opened a video. In the footage, Jason was carrying a girl into hotel room 403. Because it was late at night, the surveillance footage wasn't particularly clear, but the profile could vaguely be seen. That profile was unmistakably Jason's. Perhaps afraid I wouldn't believe her, Cece paused the video, zoomed in on the man's hand and pointed, "Look, he's even wearing the same wedding band as yours." Cece's inner voice sounded, "Finding someone who resembles Jason this much was truly difficult." I clenched my fists and managed to squeeze out a few tears. Cece hypocritically hugged me. There, sweetheart, don't be sad. Men are all scum anyway." After seeing Cece out, I drank some water, my throat ached from all that fake wailing. I've already figured out how to get back at Cece. Since she's so afraid of her marriage falling apart, I'll just make sure it does. If Cece could frame me for Liam's sake, then the car accident in my past life was most likely her doing too. When you have a lot of money, you gain access to many things. Like technicians, I know exactly what type Cece likes, the kind who treats people gently, like a warm spring breeze. I searched high and low, going through hundreds of technicians before barely finding one suitable. But that wasn't enough, it still required extensive training. I devised a 1-month crash course for him and even changed his name to Jaden. A month later, I looked at the rosy-lipped, bright-toothed young man standing before me, his smile radiating spring-like charm, and nodded in satisfaction. Every angle and curve of that smile was precisely calibrated to within 0.5 degrees, perfectly tailored to Cece's aesthetic preferences. Having spent so many years with Cece, I knew her inside out. I handed him a card, the remaining $250,000 after the job is done. Jaden nodded, "Yes, ma'am." I waved my hand, signaling for him to proceed freely. Cece went to the library every week to read, that was where she had first met Liam. Especially during Liam's business trips, she visited even more frequently. Jaden had only been at the library for half a day when he spotted the target, Cece. He pulled out a mission prop, a small silver bracelet I had quietly taken from Cece's home, one of her favorite bracelets. Cece had just taken her seat when Jaden sat down across from her, smiling as he said, "Miss, I believe this must be yours?" Cece's heart twitched. What a cliché pickup line. She looked up with a polite smile but immediately widened her eyes in surprise. Backlit by the sunlight, Jaden's bright smile and gleaming eyes shone like the most dazzling stars in the night sky, impossible to ignore. Cece couldn't help but swallow hard before glancing at the bracelet in Jaden's hand. So that's where I dropped it, in the library, she thought to herself. Yes. Cece quickly snapped back to reality, taking the silver bracelet from Jaden. Jaden smiled without another word, turning to leave. He left the choice entirely to Cece. By all accounts, she ought to stop him. Wait, Cece suddenly called out softly. Let's have dinner together tonight, as a thank you. Jaden's face still wore that standard smile of his. Sure thing. Cece breathed a sigh of relief. Had he refused, she probably would have spent ages thinking about him. This was her chance. During dinner, Cece was astonished to find that she and Jaden seemed to have endless topics to discuss. The books she loved happened to be Jaden's favorites too. She had never encountered someone who suited her taste so perfectly, as if custom-made for her. And the faint scent of grass and wood lingering around Jaden made her heart flutter. But it was just a flutter, nothing more. Over the next few days, Cece and Jaden grew very close. The more time she spent with Jaden, the deeper Cece fell. If she didn't see Jaden for a day, she would feel restless. Of course, this was all part of my plan. Jaden's perfume contained an addictive substance, though completely legal. But mostly, it was her genuine fondness for Jaden. On a stormy night, Cece gazed at Jaden across from her. They had planned to go biking outdoors, but a heavy downpour began just as Jaden arrived at her place. "Let me cook for you, as payment for taking shelter," Jaden said. Cece nodded. Jaden made 2 bowls of noodles, and after eating, Cece only felt her entire body growing somewhat warm. Cece had cheated. The next day, as she looked at Jaden lying beside her, her whole body trembled. She had cheated. At that very moment, Liam returned. I had specifically bribed his secretary to get his itinerary. His return was no coincidence. He would pass by here today. I believed he would come back to take a look. Even if he didn't return, I'd make sure he found out. When he saw the man lying in bed, Liam knew their marriage was over. Despite Cece's constant explanations, the hickeys on her body were the most irrefutable evidence. In just 3 short days, Cece and Liam got divorced. Cece had planned to leave with nothing, but Liam still gave her $300,000. Looking at the pale-faced, red-eyed Cece before me, I smiled. She had barely taken a few bites when she suddenly covered her face and began to sob. I really didn't mean to. Liam was so good to me. How could I have wronged him? He wouldn't even let me leave empty-handed, saying I wouldn't survive without him. Cece cried dramatically, while I simply watched her in silence. Half an hour later, Cece took a deep breath and looked at me, but no matter how you look at it, I'm the one who wronged him. What about me? My gaze turned icy as I stared at her. Did you ever consider me? Cece's lips parted slightly in confusion before her pupils constricted sharply. You know everything? I smiled and nodded. Cece's face instantly paled another shade. She never thought I'd find out. Were we ever really friends? Standing before her, I let out a scornful laugh. When you had no money after that shady company withheld your pay, who took you in? Who slept only 3 hours a day to help you fight the lawsuit? Cece trembled all over, collapsing weakly from the stool. This is all what you deserve. I looked at her, my face full of mockery. It was you. Cece suddenly realized, her hands gripping my wrists with deadly force. I nodded without refusing, then bent down and lightly patted her cheek, smiling with triumphant delight. I didn't have Jaden drug you or anything, you know. Though I was prepared to, you didn't give me the chance, did you? Cece glared at me with fierce intensity. So that's why Jaden seemed tailor-made for her. I had studied her inside out. You didn't love Liam that much either. I flung her hand away. The word struck Cece like lightning, leaving her frozen in place. Long after I left, she collapsed weakly onto the floor, tears streaming down her face as she kept murmuring, "How could I not love him? How could I? I loved him so much." Upon hearing this news, I could only sigh, feeling a pang of sorrow in my heart. Had money truly distorted someone beyond recognition? Fingering the gemstone necklace around my neck, I found myself lost in thought. It looked strangely familiar, though I couldn't quite place it. With a soft sigh, I reasoned it must be some celebrity's signature style. Cece and Liam's divorce was handled with the utmost discretion, partly to avoid the scandal spreading, and partly because neither wanted to plunge the other into greater turmoil. Lying on the sofa with my eyes closed, I replayed the entire sequence of events in my mind. In my previous life, it was at this point that Cece had begun relentlessly sending me evidence of Jason's infidelity. Traveling with another woman, watching movies together, kissing together. How did Cece track Jason's whereabouts? I suddenly stood up from the sofa, a terrifying thought flashing through my mind. If Jason wanted to clear his name, it wouldn't have been difficult at all. But in the previous life, why didn't he do anything? He only made verbal explanations without providing any concrete evidence. My mind felt like it exploded. I yanked the gemstone necklace off my neck. I remembered where I had seen this necklace before. On the first day of my rebirth, while video calling Jason, I noticed the woman in the frame was wearing a necklace similar to mine, except hers was red while mine was blue. And there's more. I immediately turned on my computer. After Cece showed me the footage of the fake Jason she had hired, she sent the video to me. I widened my eyes and pressed my face against the screen. Right, in that footage, the woman being embraced by the fake Jason was also wearing a necklace. I strained my memory, trying to match the face I remembered with the woman in the video. Finally, I confirmed it, the two were the same person. So, the person Cece found to impersonate Jason was actually Jason himself? Did Jason know that Cece was trying to frame him? How did Jason know? I carefully examined the hallway style in the video. It was indeed the East Tower Hotel. Jason often stays there too. The video shows no signs of editing, so it must be real. I arrived at the East Tower Hotel. As for that so-called college classmate at the front desk? Of course, that was fake. I also have a membership at the East Tower Hotel, one that Jason doesn't know about. I immediately called for the manager and requested to see the check-in records and surveillance footage. The manager complied without hesitation. The footage Cece provided even conveniently included the specific year, month, and time. I checked the room registration records for that day and confirmed the room was indeed booked under Jason's name. But shouldn't it have been reserved by Cece or that imposter she hired? Nevertheless, this confirmed one thing: Jason was definitely having an affair, and his mistress was none other than that client of his. Must be someone important. When I got home, it was already evening. "Where have you been?" Jason greeted me with a smile at the door, gently brushing a withered leaf from my forehead. I stared at him fixedly, my heart in turmoil. "What's wrong?" he asked. I shook my head. Jason smiled and said, "Come on, let's eat." During dinner, Jason suddenly said, "Cece and Liam got divorced?" I froze mid-bite. How did he know? Liam was still struggling out of town, and Cece would never have told him. I nodded. "What a shame," Jason mused. "They didn't make it in the end after all." I stared at Jason's face, struck by how unfamiliar he suddenly seemed, then forced a smile. What a shame. When I saw Cece again, she had already returned to her hometown. I traveled all the way back just to meet her. "What are you doing here?" Cece stood in the small garden, her face full of exhaustion. I got straight to the point. "How did you track Jason's movements?" Cece glanced at me, clearly too tired to speak, or perhaps unwilling to. I had anticipated this early on. I said, "You help me, and I'll plead your case with Liam, telling him it was me who arranged for someone to seduce you." As soon as these words were spoken, Cece's expression instantly changed. After some deliberation, she said, "I installed a tracking app on his phone. That's how I got hold of his movements." The corner of my mouth twitched. "Do you know Jason won a provincial award in computer science back in university? There's no way Jason wouldn't notice an extra tracking app on his phone. I suspect he used that software for reverse tracking and surveillance instead." Cece fell silent. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully, none of the matters between Cece and me had been discussed over the phone. "Do you still have the contact details and home address of the fake Jason you found? Switch to another phone and message me." Though Cece didn't understand what I was planning, she didn't ask further. She still had some savings from over the years and quickly switched to a new phone, outright discarding the old one. She gave me the fake Jason's home address and contact information. As I was leaving, Cece grabbed my hand and said, "I hope you'll keep your promise." I smiled and pried her hand off. I soon found out about that fake Jason. I had probably already guessed Jason had seen through all of Cece's plans. I tracked down the fake Jason and asked him about that night's events. Fake Jason took the money and spilled the truth in detail. It turned out that after Cece approached him, the real Jason had come looking for him. The person in the subsequent video wasn't fake, it was the genuine Jason. He knew Cece would show me that footage, yet he still went through with it. I took a deep breath. Could Jason's thoughts really be this vile? Did this mean my fatal car accident in the previous life might not have been Cece's doing, but Jason's? A shiver ran down my spine. Before I knew it, I had already returned home. Jason stood at the door with a smile, waiting for me. "Honey, where did you go for fun?" I forced a bright smile. "I went to see Cece." "Oh, time to eat." Jason suddenly realized and nodded. "So, who's the woman Jason cheated with?" "That woman's background is far bigger than I imagined. She's the daughter of the chairman of the listed company that took a liking to Jason. Her name is Bella, 28 years old. However, she has quite a notorious reputation locally, arrogant and domineering. Precisely because of her powerful connections, it saved me a lot of investigative effort. I only felt a stifling pressure weighing on my chest. What should I do? Her backing is still formidable. Wife, Jason beamed as he brought over a bowl of soup. It's hot out, don't get heat stroke. I smiled back, but suspicion had already taken root in my heart. Ever since I became a full-time housewife, Jason hasn't lifted a finger to help with housework. What's more, right now is the critical period for work handovers. How could he still find time to cook meals and make soup for me every day? Something's off. Jason originally wanted to use Cece to force us into divorce, but now Cece has her hands full with her own troubles. So it's highly likely he's changed tactics. I silently sipped my soup, though my eyes kept glancing sideways at my phone. I'd hired someone to gather rumors about Bella. Before long, the screen lit up. There were plenty of rumors about Bella circulating, but none that could actually be useful. Then again, with a powerful father like hers, what else could I expect? With a sigh, I answered an incoming call. It was Liam, asking me out to dinner. After a moment's thought, I agreed. After all, I still intended to keep my promise to Cece. When I saw Liam again, I noticed he'd grown much thinner. Is something the matter? I looked at Liam and asked. Liam smiled wryly. I'm being kept. For a moment, I was stunned. Then Liam explained the reason. It turned out a wealthy woman named Selena had taken a liking to him. She had approached Liam before, offering to help him through his difficulties. He had refused, but when Cece found out about it, though she said nothing, she couldn't help feeling uneasy inside. I don't want to see my life's work destroyed in an instant, he said with a bitter smile. His factory still employed many disabled workers, and so many people depended on those jobs. It suddenly dawned on me, Cece was afraid that Liam might be lured away by someone else because of money. I sighed. It all came down to money. Then I told Liam everything I had done, as well as what Cece had done. Liam's expression remained unchanged. I've known all along? Besides, Cece was the one in the wrong first. I nodded. After a moment of silence, I said, could you do me a favor? Liam nodded. Go ahead. I looked at Liam and told him what had happened. At first, his eyes widened in surprise, but then he fell silent. After a pause, he rubbed his chin thoughtfully. Actually, Bella's father has been struggling financially these past few years. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have even heard any rumors. Then he smiled slightly. You should know, a good company is never just about one person. Liam called Selena to ask about it. Finally, he said, recently, Bella's family is about to collaborate with Selena's company. It's more like Selena's financial support for their family. If this support falls through. Liam looked at me with a radiant smile. Mina, after this matter, we'll be even. I was somewhat surprised and about to speak when Liam interrupted me. Hurry up and think about how to terminate this collaboration. Though if Mina hadn't intervened, he would have stepped in himself. Selena seemed genuinely fond of him. I nodded. This conversation lasted the entire afternoon. By the time I returned home, Liam had already sent me the location and time for the collaboration. Back already? Jason stood smiling at the doorway. Time for dinner. I nodded. Jason, you're being too hasty. I tightened my grip on the pill in my pocket, sleeping pills. After dinner, I looked at the sleeping Jason, took a deep breath, and headed to the kitchen. Sure enough, I found a jar of unidentified white powder in the kitchen. I took out a small amount and sent it to the testing facility. Soon, it was time for the collaboration. I took a deep breath, dressed in my bright red trench coat. Go ahead. Liam stood behind me with a kindly smile. I remember you used to hold the longest grudges when you were little. Not really, I frowned. You stole my snacks all the time when we were kids, and I hardly held that against you. Liam smiled without responding. I pushed open the door forcefully. They were still holding the press conference. Selena, dressed in a black suit, nodded at me. I returned her smile. Who are you? Bella's father looked at me with some confusion. Only Bella widened her eyes, froze for a moment, then quickly came to push me. Security. Security. How did this person get in here? I let her in. Selena stood in front of me, then looked at me. Go ahead. I took a deep breath, faced the countless media cameras, and held up my ID card. I'm reporting. Bella is involved in drug trafficking. This statement immediately caused a huge uproar. Bella is a well-known socialite, involved in drug trafficking? The test results came out, that white powder was indeed drugs. Bella's pretty face instantly turned deathly pale as she pointed at me. Don't you dare make false accusations. You should know you could face criminal charges and jail time for spreading lies. Her father remained much calmer. Madam, do you have any evidence? I looked at the father and daughter pair, neither of them was any good. I flashed them a bright smile and gave a slight nod of my chin. In an instant, countless police officers swarmed in and pinned her to the ground. I turned to the media. This is the best proof. Once the test results came out, Jason was immediately arrested and thrown into jail. He was just as shocked to learn it was drugs. He had only intended to make me infertile so he could use it as grounds for divorce. So without hesitation, he gave up Bella, since she was the one who had given him the drug. At that point, I was certain, the car accident in my past life was Bella's doing. Daddy. Daddy, save me. Bella was still crying out to her father as she was taken away. Her father trembled all over, aging what seemed like more than 10 years in an instant. Mr. Richard, Selena smiled at him. Let's end our cooperation here for now. I'll take my leave first. With that, she took Liam and left. Well, now he looked like he'd aged over 20 years. After this incident, he quickly resigned from his position as chairman and ended up owing tens of millions of dollars in compensation for the significant losses he caused to the company. As for Jason? He only spent a month in jail before getting out. Everything that happened was within his expectations. From the moment he was arrested, he knew it was over. He looked at me with a cold expression. How did you find out? I smiled and took out the necklace he had given me. This necklace belongs to Bella, doesn't it? Jason froze for a moment before laughing. One careless move loses the whole game. Then he looked at me. I really didn't mean to hurt you. I nodded. Then if Bella tries to kill me, will you save me? Jason nodded without hesitation, and I smiled. I didn't believe it. In our past life, when Bella plotted to kill me, he couldn't have been unaware. Let's get divorced. I said to Jason. You'll leave with nothing, that's what you wanted anyway. Jason gave a bitter smile. Must you be so heartless? Without the slightest hesitation, he signed his name. I took the divorce papers and turned to leave immediately. Jason's Adam's apple bobbed as he said, You know, I actually really loved you. I know, I replied without turning back, quickening my pace, but you loved money more. It's all over. Liam met with Cece, and after that meeting, Cece went crazy, or rather, was crazy most of the time. Turns out, Liam had actually come for me in the beginning. He had come for me from the start. But I was already married at the time. Jason lost everything and chose to start another business, but luck wasn't on his side, he failed. Now, he runs a small supermarket, barely making ends meet. Liam married Selena, just as he said. Selena loved him more than he ever imagined. And Selena had liked Liam since way back, probably from middle school, that boy who climbed over the wall to skip class only to land right on top of her. More of Bella's dirty deeds came to light: election cheating, taking someone else's place in the college entrance exams, bullying classmates. With multiple offenses punished together, her life was effectively ruined. Besides, I didn't have much business sense, so I handed the money over to Liam. Half a year later, that sum had doubled. After some thought, I donated the entire profit to children in mountainous regions. Perhaps it was precisely because I'd done quite a few good deeds in my past life that I was granted this chance to reshape my destiny.